What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Fantastic Friday on the Heart Healthy Hustle Show. I'm your host, Jonathan Frederick. Appreciate you tuning in on YouTube. We are now posting these videos of Fantastic Friday recordings directly up onto YouTube. Instead of simply the audio format, we will now have the video of me on the mic talking to you on the camera, talking to YouTube, or talking to you through YouTube on the camera. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Today's episode, what are we going to be talking about? Today we're going to be talking about giving no one veto power over your life and what that looks like and why it's not a attitude of rebellion, but we'll get into that in just a second. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to give you guys a quick reminder on a healthy hack that you can do. It's not even a hack, but aim to drink at least a half to 1 gallon of water every day. You say, wow, that's a lot of water. Yes, it is. And here's the thing. When you drink that much water, you will have to pee more. Surprise, surprise. That's part of life. Biology. It's actually healthy anyway, and it gives you a chance to get up if you're at a desk job. It gives you a chance to walk over to the bathroom. It gives you a chance to get a little more steps in on the Fitbit action there. Anyway, here's the thing. If you drink that much water, make sure it's purified. There's a lot of additives, fluorides, bad things in the water supply municipally. It's doable. I'm not saying I'm ungrateful for the water supply. That would be very ridiculous. Of course, I'm not saying that. What I am saying from a scientific perspective, from a medical perspective, be aware that the more you ingest, volume-wise of water, the more of those byproducts you will also be ingesting. So at this point, I would recommend getting a Berkey, investing into a water filtration system, even something more so than just a Berkey filter you can put in the fridge, something that actually takes the fluoride out of the water and all those other things, because it's a lot to be ingesting. So we'll jump into the rest of this episode right now. Giving no one veto power over your life. I'm not talking just about not having a boss. I'm not talking about something like that. I am talking partially about that and how, no, I'm not talking about that. What I am talking about is don't allow, are you unconfident? Are you insecure in suggesting things? Not only ask yourself that question, you say, well, how can I tell? Well, let's put it this way. When you're out with your friends or your family, are you comfortable saying something like this? Might I suggest we go at 7 p.m. and take my car? And hey, would you mind driving? Does that work for everyone? If you would be uncomfortable suggesting something like that, it's very possible you have been giving veto power to others in your life. And it's not to say that that's wrong. It's just that you're not going to get probably the exact things that you want, which is okay. Obviously, you can be content with your situation. But what we're trying to do here is avoid people pleasing for the sake of people pleasing so that you feel loved and accepted, because that's unhealthy. That's more or less manipulating people into treating you a certain way, to tricking yourself into believing you're significant and worthy of that love and attention. Here's the thing. When you step up and you speak confidently and you're bold about your recommendations, it doesn't mean that you're being bossy or prideful or conceited or everyone should listen to me because it's my suggestion. It's actually the opposite. It gives others the opportunity to then confidently express their suggestion and have a civil discourse with you about why they agree or disagree with your suggestion. And yeah, this is way too much thinking into things, but at the end of the day, it's important to dissect things like this at times just to assess your current situation in your life. And for those who are, for a lot of the listeners out there, you're very kind, generous people. So we tend to be leaning towards people pleasing, which would be more agreeable, sometimes hyper agreeable, which is actually toxic in my opinion. I don't think it's wise to be agreeing with people all the time. I think you should have your own opinions and you should be confident about them, and you should be confident and okay with your own opinions being wrong, because many times they will be. But you need to understand the importance of having confidence in what you suggest. Next, we have the second form that I'm talking about when it comes to giving others veto power over your life. I still struggle with what I'm about to share with you almost every single day. A little example of this would be giving energy or thought to random strangers. So let's say you're driving, you're upset with the way another person is driving. Do you allow that discomfort or dissatisfaction with the rude other driver who cut you off to then alter your emotional state, your behavior, and the way that you are driving? This can apply to any different area of your life. Let's say you're shopping in the grocery store. Um, Hopefully this isn't something you're looking for people to do something wrong to you, but if I mean people can be nasty and rude. It's just true. Are you allowing this to affect your emotional state? I struggle with this. I struggle being very competitive. I don't like when people think that they can get the better of me. I want to let them know that I'm going to set it straight before they can even count to three. And that's just my personality type. I am a very socialite, very kind person at heart. But when it comes to being stomped on, or when I perceive that I've been stomped on, my initial gut reaction is to react and show this bully that I cannot be bullied and will not be bullied, and they have another thing coming if they think they can bully me. So it's really interesting, but my pride tends to flare up in these moments. What I want to share this with you is just one, be transparent with one of my personal struggles at times. It's not something I'm hypersensitive to anymore because I understand the fact is disrespect towards you is not an embarrassment. Let me say that again. Being disrespected by somebody is not an embarrassment to you. Does that mean you should just let it go and pretend it never happened? Absolutely not. You should maturely and confidently express to the other person in the right setting and context that, hey, I didn't appreciate the way you did talk to me. Why did you talk to me like I was a child or do this certain thing? I'd appreciate it if you don't do that again. Without any emotion, just very to the point and very much mature and confident and poised, and just letting them know that's not okay. Now, that being said, in the moment, when you have the temptation to react or give emotional energy, anger or frustration or pride flaring up in those moments, it's ideal, in my opinion, to take a step back, realize most of these times where you have a perceived slight against you, almost 95% of the time and above, it is not intentional by the other person. How many people are going through their day trying to actually be mean and nasty to other people? Most people are just late moms going to pick up their kids from school, dads picking up their kids from daycare. It's not that people are trying to get at you. So don't take it personal. They don't even know you. Even if someone is nasty, intentionally being a jerk in their life and cutting people off and putting others in danger and being a bully, even if they're doing this and you don't know them, you never saw them before, you never met before, and this is something that they're doing, it's not an intentional thing against you. So don't take it personal. They don't even know you. Where in a case where it's people you do know that do know you and it's something that you're seeing a pattern with, again, that's something you want to address with them directly and let them know, hey, I didn't appreciate that and don't talk to me like that ever again. Thanks. And, here's the thing. People are afraid to do that because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to burn the bridge. Well, what bridge do you currently have with a bully? If somebody's a bully, you're actually, you have maybe an unhealthy bridge with them. Why would you want to be in a relationship with them? If it's a forced relationship, I would then again, nothing is ever really forced. Again, that veto power, make sure you're taking control. So if you're in an unhealthy situation, whatever aspect of your life, make sure you are poised and taking initiative versus saying, well, I can't because it's somebody I work with or it's somebody I know at my community volunteer organization that I've committed my life to. Again, you can always adjust these things. Like, you have the power to change jobs or change where you volunteer, or like, you do have that power. And maybe, oh no, I don't, I can't. You can though. So if it comes to worst and that's what it takes to actually adjust your situation, you have that power to make a choice. Decisions are hard, but once you make them, you make them. You made the decision. So I'm not saying to quit your volunteering or anything like that, but what I am saying is when it comes to giving veto power to others over your life, it goes deeper than just, oh, well, asking people what they want to do all the time. Why don't you just have a suggestion? It's okay to suggest things. It's not selfish to say, I'd like to do this. How about you? What do you think about this? I suggest we do this. Those are healthy things. There's nothing wrong with that. And so many of you guys listening are so kind and so generous and genuinely kind-hearted people that you want others to feel good all the time. It can actually make others feel better when you're just straight up and let them know, hey, This is what I want to do. Does that sound good to you? And you'd be surprised. Many times people will say, oh, yeah, I think that sounds like a great plan. Or they may say, no, I actually don't want to do that. And you guys can talk about it. But growing up, man, I was definitely more of a people pleaser. I just didn't feel, I was a middle child, so I wasn't usually the one consulted for, hey, what do you think about this? What's your opinion on this? Not to say I wasn't my opinions weren't treated with weren't taken into consideration, but they weren't as heavily as, let's say, an older sibling or the parents in in the family, which is normal. Parents are usually the authoritative. But there is something to be said about allowing everyone to have a voice and be heard. So, all this being said, the biggest thing that I hope anyone would take away from this episode is the emotional stuff. I tell myself either out loud when I'm really tempted to get irritated or prideful in a situation or react. I'll tell myself, literally, I'll say out loud at times if I have to. I'll say to myself, none. Zero. Absolutely none. And what I mean by that is none of my emotional energy, none of my energy will get spent in locking horns with a bully or someone who's genuinely being a creep or that I perceive that is being a creep. Because one, they probably aren't doing it intentionally. Maybe they're having a terrible day. It has nothing to do with me or you. If it's a pattern thing, yeah, that needs to be addressed. But if it's especially just going through your day-to-day life, it's almost never about you. And if it is, maybe you did something wrong that really, you could ask them, hey, is there something going on here? Like, did I miss something? Usually it'll be no, it's just them, but you never know. So always take into account that you probably have nothing to do with it. And don't react. And if you are tempted to react to someone who genuinely, where there's like 0% chance that they are just made a mistake, they're actually being a jerk or a creep, don't be afraid to step up and say something. If someone's being very rude in society, you have every right to say, hey, I don't think people are, we don't appreciate this. You guys are really being loud at the movie theater. Would you please stop? And then if they'll probably say, oh, haha, or something. And you can walk out and get management. Like, you don't have to put up with things just so that you don't cause a confrontation. And I understand most of you guys would never want to be in a confrontation. Neither do I. I usually just let that stuff go. That's my style. But don't be ashamed or afraid of stepping up when it's necessary. I'm anti-bullying, so yeah, I'm a tall guy with a beard and muscles, but I'm actually I used to be shy and skinny, and I'm very anti-bullying, whether that's within a friend group or just in society as a whole. People will do what you let them get away with. And as much as that sounds weird or manipulative, it's just kind of a fact. Like, if you don't assert yourself and let yourself, if you don't occasionally show your teeth in a civilized way, people will genuinely or generally kind of just do what you let them get away with, essentially, for lack of better words. And it's a shame. And it's not even a cynical view. It's just human nature, right? It's kind of just human nature. That's why you have so many unhealthy family dynamics. Like, growing up, I would go over people's houses sometimes and notice that, oh my gosh, the way they talk to their parents is so different than I'm allowed to in my household, and it was unhealthy. It's very disrespectful, or there's just different things that start to happen and manifest when, and this could be within your own life, present day, when you let things slide, even in your own life. So keeping yourself accountable, having accountability partners is huge as well. To keep things real with yourself, to make sure you're not actually falling into any of these negative categories. That's going to be it for this episode, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to do me a favor and hit that like button down below. Also hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate you guys. We're trying to grow this channel, trying to grow this podcast. Share this episode or share your favorite episode with a friend, at least one. We still haven't monetized the show, so I'm excited for that day to come. But until then, we're really just focused on growing the show, providing you with more value and enjoyment and entertainment. So I hope that this podcast has done that for you today on this fantastic Friday episode. Until Monday, Godspeed and live wide open.